Good evening, everybody. And today on Keeps Hot Takes, I just felt like it wouldn't be right if I didn't address everything that's happened this week so far. So that's what I'm gonna do before we get into what we normally talk about on this show. So first, I want to address the Jacob Blake ruling where they decided not to press charges on the officer who shot Jacob Blake several times in his back and left him paralyzed. As a black man in America, this left me more hopeless than I already was. I'm like, when are we gonna get the justice we deserve as black people, not just as black brothers, our black queens? When are we gonna get the justice we deserve? This is just another case where it's no justice, and it's just as it's just so frustrating. I can't begin to tell you how frustrating it is to just see this cycle repeat over and over and over and over again. I'm just like, when is this going to end? Mm. Yeah. So I can't believe that they decided not to press charges on an officer who clearly shot Jacob Blake in the back several times. Me personally, I'm going to go to my grave thinking this. I just don't think Jacob Blake's going to reach for no gun with his kids in the back seat. It was reported that he was there to break up a fight, and I just can't see him wanting to, pull out a gun, knowing the end result of that with his kids in the back seat. Like, that just doesn't make much sense to me. I don't know what he was doing in the car, but I just don't think it was reaching for a gun. So that just really upset me that Jacob Blake got shot 7 times in the back, and then you got that kid, what's his name, Kyle Rittenhouse, who was walking down the street with that long gun, and the officers were dapping him up, thanking him, and they gave him water. This is the America we live in, where an unarmed black man gets shot 7 times in the back, doesn't get no justice, and then we have this young 17-year-old white boy walking down the street, and the police don't do nothing about it. Nothing. What the world? This is crazy, man. And then we go to yesterday when our celebrity in chief, Donald Trump, when his thugs took over the Capitol because they're upset about the election. When it was Joe Biden won fair and square, President Trump said that mail-in ballots are going to be fraudulent. He said they, weren't going to be, you know, done properly and all this, and that ended up biting him in the backside because he wanted his supporters to go vote in person on November 3rd. Yeah, November 3rd. So I just don't understand. Like, why can't you just take your L and go home? And yesterday he was supposed to deliver a message to say something about these hoodlums who were taking over DC because they're brainwashed and they're listening to everything he says. And he started it off all wrong, talking about he knows this election was fraudulent. He won. It was a blowout and all this. And no, President Trump, you didn't win by a blowout. You lost fair and square, and it wasn't close. And maybe if you hadn't have had that energy towards mail-in ballots, maybe it would have been a little different for you. But I'm so glad we don't have to put up with your mess for 4 more years because I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. I'm telling you right now, I couldn't take 4 more years of you and your racist bigots and all this. I couldn't take 4 more years of this. And I'm so glad that we got control of the Senate. So now hopefully we can get some change done here in America because I don't want to deal with this anymore here in America, where me as a black man, I feel unsafe. I can't trust the police, and then I got your racist thugs running around acting a fool because what did you tweet on December 19th? Big protests on January 6th. Be there. We'll be wild. And it was wild and ridiculous yesterday with your goons, your thugs did. When flash back to June, when we were having peaceful Black Lives Matter protests, y'all turned the tear gas on us, the rubber bullets. Where was this yesterday? You know, obviously I didn't want y'all to get shot or anything happen to y'all, but we can't even peacefully protest without getting hosed with tear gas. We can't protest without getting rubber bullets shot at us. Like, all we want is equality, where we get treated like white people do, where cops are so calm and they're so friendly with white people, but with us, they're so hostile and so trigger happy, where they'll put a bullet in us quick. It's just like I said on my Black Lives Matter documentary. You can go check it out on my YouTube channel. I know it's about 5 minutes long, but it's a lot of good content in there. Um, where I said these police officers need more training because they're so calm with white people, but with these black people, they just don't seem to know how to handle it, you know. And I think that goes back to a lack of training. So I think we need to fix this training. And I'm so glad President Trump only has 13 more days in office, because I'm afraid of what he's going to do next. You know, he's such a poor leader, and he abused his power for the last 4 years. I'm ready for him to go. And then the other day, he was on the phone with the Secretary of State in Georgia, asking them to find 11,780 votes so he could win Georgia. This is our president saying this to the Secretary of State in Georgia. A president. I've never heard of a president doing this. This is really, really bad. Um, Trump. I'm just so glad. I'm really nervous about Inauguration Day because I don't think he's going to go quietly. Um, so I'm just really nervous about these next 13 days. And yeah. But before I close out this segment and go into sizzling headlines. I know I was saying hotlines last week. It's sizzling headlines. But before we do that, I want to read this powerful tweet from Dwayne Wade yesterday. Let me pull it up for us. And we'll pull it up on the screen so y'all can see it too. Black people get pulled over and don't make it out alive. We can't even sleep in our own beds without being killed. We can't jog without being killed. We can't walk down the street with our hoodies up without being killed. But they can do this? And that's exactly how I feel. Breonna Taylor was sleeping peacefully in her bed. Police raided her apartment with no good reason to raid her apartment. Ahmaud Arbery was jogging. We can't even jog here in America. Trayvon Martin was just walking down the street with a tea and some Skittles. But these white people can storm the Capitol. This hadn't happened since 1814, when the British invaded the Capitol. 1814 is the last time some mess like this happened. Yeah, this is just a sad day in America, and then real quick, they were helping one of the ladies who stormed in the Capitol. One of the officers was helping her down the steps, and she had just broken into the Capitol. This is what we do in America? I hope America gets better. Let's go to sizzling headlines. Alright, so today on Sizzling Headlines, to start it off, it was only right after we announced last week that the Jags clinched the #1 draft pick after losing 14 straight, and of course they lost this past Sunday, so that made it 15 straight. Trevor Lawrence announced that he's declaring for the 2021 NFL draft. So everybody thinks that Jacksonville is going to draft Trevor Lawrence. And the good thing for them is they have $100 million in cap room. So you can get a lot of good players with that. And apparently they have a lot of draft picks too. So If they use those wisely, then this could be a very competitive team from this year where they weren't so good. And since Trevor Lawrence became the starting quarterback when he was in high school, his record is 86-3. 86-3. That is ridiculous. He lost one game in high school and he lost two games in college, both in the college football playoffs. Last year in the championship, this year in the semifinals. That is ridiculous. Wow. Trevor Lawrence is a winner. I don't know if he'll have that much success in Jacksonville right away because well, it just depends on how they, draft and who they can bring in free agency and who they can get as their coach, because that's going to determine a lot. So we shall see. But yeah, that's crazy that's his record since he became the starting quarterback in high school. Wow. All right, what we got next for y'all? Let's scroll down. Okay, so Devontae Smith became the fourth wide receiver to win the Heisman. He joins Johnny Rodgers, 1972, Tim Brown, 1987, and Desmond Howard, 1991, as the only receivers to win the Heisman. That's crazy. And oddly enough, check this out. Let me pull it down. Um, so before we get into some of his Heisman moments from this past season, since 2007, only three non-quarterbacks have won the Heisman Trophy. And guess where they played? At Alabama for Nick Saban. We have Mark Ingram, running back, Derrick Henry, running back, and then Devontae Smith the other day. All played for Nick Saban. So, wow, that is amazing, that all those players won the Heisman at Alabama. And let's check out some of Devontae Smith's key games. So against Georgia, had 167 yards, two touchdowns. Against number 22 Auburn, he had 171, two touchdowns. Against LSU, they could not cover him. Oh my God, 231 and three touchdowns. And against number 7 Florida in the SEC championship game, excuse me, he had 184 and two touchdowns. And I forgot to mention that Georgia was number 3 at the time. So, wow, he was pretty electric this year. So congratulations to him, and we'll see if he's able to top it off with a national championship. So we shall see. What we have next? Okay, so for the first time since 2002, the Cleveland Browns are going to the playoffs, and of course later I'm gonna break down all 6 wild card games from on this super wild card weekend. I cannot wait for this. I'm happy for Baker Mayfield and them. Cleveland, they deserve this because the Browns franchise has been horrible for a very long time. A lot of people want them to push the game back, I guess, to Monday, because I don't think you could push it back to Tuesday, but maybe Monday, because right now Kevin Stefanski would not be able to coach, and we'll talk about that later. That'll be the last game we talk about because that's supposed to be the Sunday night game right now. But for right now, that game's still happening Sunday, 8:15 on NBC. So we just have to see if that's gonna stay that way. All right. So with the Browns clinching a playoff spot Sunday, it became the 4th time since the merger that two teams had snapped the longest playoff droughts in the same season. It also happened in 1987, 1988, and 1999. So the Browns, they snapped a streak of 17 seasons without a playoff appearance, and then last week the Bucks, they snapped a 12 season streak of not making the playoffs. 12 season streak of not making the playoffs. So happy for those two franchises, and we shall see if they can make a run in the playoffs. So, yeah. And I think, yeah. Lastly, the Green Bay Packers locked up the number 1 seed with a 35-16 victory over the Chicago Bears. And now everybody in the NFC has to go through limbo to get to the Super Bowl. So we shall see if anybody's going to be able to go into Lambeau and beat Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. And the problem that they're going to run into is you don't know what that weather is going to be like. It could be nice throughout the week, on the forecast, and then Sunday comes and it could be 2, 3 inches of 3 feet. Excuse me. It could be 3 feet of snow. You just don't know what the weather's going to be like in Green Bay. So happy for the Packers. Let's see if they can get Aaron Rodgers back to the Super Bowl before he retires. So yeah. So now, before I get into the picks, we'll just keep this on this segment. So, ooh, ooh. Okay, so we'll have a game at 1:05, 4:40, and 8:15 Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday we get Colts Bills at 1:05, Rams Seahawks 4:40, and then the 8:15 game on NBC is Bucks and the Washington football team. On Sunday we get the Ravens and Titans at 1:05 on ESPN, Bears Saints at 4:40 on CBS, and at 8:15 on NBC we get Browns Steelers. I don't know if I mentioned this, but Colts and Bills is on CBS at 1:05 Saturday. You don't want to miss it. So, with that being said, let's get into the Super Wildcard games and let's predict some. Alright, so before we get into the picks, I thought it'd be cool to let you know when the last playoff win was for each playoff team. So it's in alphabetical order. No, it's not. But anyways, it's okay. So the Bills, they last won a playoff game in 1995. The Browns last won a playoff game in 1995. The Buccaneers, 2003. Washington, their last playoff win was in 2006. The Bears, 2011. The Ravens, 2015. Steelers, 2017. Rams, Saints, and Colts. Their last playoff win was in 2019. And Seahawks, Packers, Titans, and Chiefs, all their last playoff wins were in 2020. So, with that being said, let's jump into the picks. I can't wait to talk about these games. Let's get it. Okay, so we're gonna start with our Saturday slate. Let me get a swig of Bolt 24. They should sponsor me. I'm drinking the strawberry lemonade. It's not too bad. Kind of got a weird taste to it, but yeah, that may be the only time I try that. But Boat 24 still sponsor me. I'll drink it if you pay me good. Anyways, so the first game we have on Saturday is the Indianapolis Colts visiting the Buffalo Bills at 1:05 on CBS. So, some game information for you. So, this is the Bills' first playoff home game since 1996. I wasn't even born the last time they had a home playoff game. That's wild. So, I took Buffalo in this game to win this game, but I'm a little concerned because doing my prep for the show and doing my prep for these games, I noticed that Buffalo's rush defense will be key. Because Indianapolis, we all know what they want to do: ground and pound. They want to run the ball. They want to be very physical. So check this out. In two out of three of their, let me rephrase that. In two of their three losses, Buffalo has given up 200 rush yards. We all remember the snowstorm. It was just raining really hard. And the Chiefs really just kept it on the ground because they really couldn't throw because it was raining that hard. The Chiefs got 245 against them, and then the Cardinals on that Kyler Murray Hail Mary play. In that game, the Cardinals got 217, and I feel like the Colts are going to try to test their run defense because Jonathan Taylor, if I'm not mistaken, he went over 200 yards last week. And yeah, I know it was the Jaguars, but That man still went over 200 yards, and I just, if I'm the coach, I would not put the game in Philip Rivers' hands. But if I'm the Bills, I put the game in Philip Rivers' hands because you know he's gonna make a mistake eventually. Um, but yeah, the Bills, I feel like they got to get in 46 bear, which is basically where you put 8 man in the box and it's one on one. It's one on one coverage. But I'm making Philip Rivers beat me. I'm not letting Jonathan Taylor and that offensive line beat me. I refuse. So I'm just taking the Bills because they've been on fire. They've won nine out of their last 10, and if it wasn't for the Kyler Murray Hail Mary play, they would have. I think they would have won 10 straight. To be honest with you, so yeah, they're 9-1 in their last 10 games, and the Colts blowing that lead against the Steelers is huge, because I, this is gonna be a great game, but I hate these two teams are playing each other because this should be a divisional matchup, not a first round matchup. And one of these teams is going to go home. But Buffalo, like I said, they hadn't won a playoff game since 1995. And I think they will win one this year. And I think they'll learn their lesson after last year when, they were up big on Deshaun Watson. And then he just, that dude is special. He made that comeback and just pulled off some magic. I don't think that happens this year. I think the Bills get their first playoff win since 1995. So next, the 4:40 game on Fox is the Los Angeles Rams visiting the Seattle Seahawks. This is a trilogy. The Rams won the first game. Seattle won the last game a couple weeks ago. And since I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Rams, I'm taking the Seahawks. Um, but I feel like the Rams are going to try to do what they did last week, win with their defense. But I just trust Russell Wilson to get a big win at home. I think this is going to be a really good game. Um, I think these first two games on Saturday are going to be really, really good. Yeah, I feel like they're going to throw Jared Goff out there, but they're not going to announce until Sunday. I mean Saturday, right before the game, just because they don't want them to, be able to lock in on one quarterback. I feel like they want Seattle to prepare for both quarterbacks. So I just don't trust Jared Goff because last time he played Seattle, he was awful. He was, it was not pretty, and I Seattle's defense is starting to play better. And yeah, I just think Seattle's gonna win this game. I think this will be a very competitive game. That Rams defense is gonna try to win it for their team, but I just think Russ is going to find a way to pull out this game and get a big win at home. So yeah, what I'm really rooting for is Aaron Rodgers versus Brady next week, and Drew Brees versus Russell Wilson. Those are the two matchups I want next week, and I kind of revealed my other pick, but those are my dream matchups for next weekend in the divisional round. So I hope we get those matchups because that would be so awesome. But yeah, I'm rolling with Seattle here, and I just think they get a very close competitive win at home against their divisional rival. This is the third time they played each other this year, and I think Seattle will win the trilogy. So next we have, what channel is this on? Okay, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the Washington football team. I'm taking the Bucks here. Washington, their defense is going to be special. I feel like they can cause Tom Brady problems, but in all five of Alex Smith's wins, the defense is averaging, giving up only 14 points per game. With all the weapons the Bucks have at receiver, I do not see this team holding the Bucks to only 14 points. And Todd Bowles, he likes to turn the heat up on you. And Alex Smith, since he can't move, I think he's going to blitz him all night. And they're getting Shaq Barrett back off COVID. It's going to be a long night for Alex Smith. And reportedly, Taylor Heineke took the majority of the snaps today. It's reported Ron Rivera could rotate quarterbacks in because he's concerned about Alex Smith's mobility. And I'm one of the people, I get scared every time he drops back to pass. Um, so Yeah, I just don't think Washington can score enough points on offense to hang with the Bucks, and I think the Bucks will get a big win on the road. And as we noticed this year, Tom Brady in games against teams with a losing record, 30 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Against teams with a winning record, 10 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So he likes to beat up on these bad football teams, and I don't really think this will be close. But if Washington's defense can get pressure, um, Payne and Allen on the inside, they're gonna have to get to Tom Brady, and then Chase Young and either Sweat or Kerrigan on the outside. They're going to have to get home. And yeah, they're going to have to get home this Tom Brady because if he's able to get them throws off, I do not like Washington's secondary against all that talent that the Bucks have on their offense. So I'm taking the Bucks here. Let me get a swig before we talk about the Sunday games. Ooh, yeah. So the first Sunday game is the Baltimore Ravens visiting the Tennessee Titans. So in this postseason, when these two teams meet up in the postseason, the road team is 4-0. And I just think Lamar Jackson cannot afford to lose in the playoffs again. Uh, I just wouldn't want that for him. And I just think they finally find a way to beat Tennessee. They were doing well against Tennessee, and then Lamar made a turnover, and then they lost 30-24 in overtime. So this Ravens team has been playing much better ever since Lamar came off COVID. And like I said, the Ravens have been playing much better since Lamar came off COVID. Look at some of these rushing numbers. Against the Cowboys, they got 294 rush yards. Against the Browns the following week, they got 231. Against the Jags, they got 159 rush yards. Against the Giants, 249. And last week against the Bengals, are you ready for this? 404 rushing yards. That adds up to 1,337 rushing yards for an average of 267 per game. That is ridiculous. I'm taking the Ravens. They're on fire. And if they can do this against that sorry Titans defense, the Titans, not the Texans. Yeah, this Raven team, they got hot at the right time, and uh, I just if Lamar doesn't turn the ball over, I think they'll win this game. So I'm rolling with the Ravens here. Next, we have the Chicago Bears visiting the New Orleans Saints. So the Bears haven't beaten the Saints since 2008. They've lost 6 straight, and I think they'll lose 7 straight. Just for the simple fact that Saints defense is they get after you. Um, and yeah, the Saints they just can't afford another early playoff exit, especially when I think this is Drew Brees' last season. So I think this Saints defense will give Mitchell Trubisky a lot of problems. They'll put a lot of pressure on him, and I think the Saints will win this game. I think that yeah, they don't want to send Drew Brees out like this. I think this will be his last season, like I said. And I know the Bears have been playing much better, but I just don't think they stand a chance against that Saints defense. So I'm rolling with the Saints. And to end the show, we are going to talk about the Browns visiting the Steelers, 8:15 on NBC. Well, not the end of the show, but the end this segment. I'm sorry. Um, so Big Ben is 23-2-1 against the Browns in his career, and I was gonna take the Browns before their coach got COVID. He won't be able to coach, and yeah, that just makes it really hard to pick them. And I think the Steelers will win a very close, competitive game at home. I think if the Browns want to have any chance, I think they're going to have to try to lean on Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and try to let Baker play action off that. I don't think they can win if the Steelers load the box and make Baker Mayfield beat them. And it's real unfortunate. I thought the Browns could make a run, make some noise, but without their coach, I'm just really not confident in them. So, yeah, I'm rolling with the Steelers here. I just wish I could pick the Browns, but without their coach, it just makes it really hard. So yeah, and to close out the show, I wanted to give my Super Bowl prediction first, and then I'll preview the national championship game. So my Super Bowl prediction is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers, and I think the Packers will win the Super Bowl for Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know if he will retire, but I definitely think it will be the Chiefs and Packers in the Super Bowl, and I'm taking the Packers to win the Super Bowl. So write it down, book it, and we'll talk about it in a few weeks and see if I got the pick right. Um, I think that'd be the season finale. So we'll see on the season finale if I got the pick right. So yeah, so to close out today's show, why not pick the national championship on Monday? I know today's show ran a little long, but I definitely had to talk about that foolishness that happened yesterday and the Jacob Blake situation. So the SEC, of course, has the most appearances in the national championship game. The college football championship game, I should say. They're 3-3 in championship games. The ACC is 2-2. The Big Ten is 1-0, and the the Pac-12 is 0-1. So let's talk about the game. It's number 3 Ohio State playing number 1 in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. I just took Alabama here. I just think they got way, way too much firepower on offense. I think Ohio State's only chance is if their defensive line can cause some disruption against that very talented Alabama offensive line. But I just don't know who's going to cover all these receivers for Alabama and how they're going to stop Najee Harris. And it's reported that Waddle got cleared to practice, so he could be back, and you throw him and Devontae Smith out there. Yeah, Alabama just seems to have too much firepower for Ohio State, but I know Ohio State is going to play hard. They're going, they're going to be motivated. They're the underdogs. Nobody thinks they can win, and they beat Alabama the last time they played, and Zeke went crazy. But I just think Alabama just has too much for Ohio State this year. But I think it's going to be a great game. I think Justin Fields and Chris Olave, that's going to be a dynamic connection. I think Alabama will put Patrick Surtain on Olave and take him away because nobody throws on Patrick Surtain. Everybody's scared to death of him. I don't know what it is, but he's a very good corner. So you don't want to try him. That's why. But I just think Alabama just has too much firepower. So I think Alabama's going to win this game, and it'll be their first national championship since 2017. So, yeah. Well, that does it for today's show. I hope everybody enjoys it. We're back on next Friday with the divisional round games. I'll preview all those for you, and I'll have some more sizzling headlines for you. And, yeah, I'm sorry today's show went a little long, but had so much to talk about, had so much to get off my chest. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends, share it with your followers. And yeah, I'll drop all my social media information so you can follow me if you want to reach out, say anything. So yeah, it's supposed to snow tomorrow. So if you have to go out, be careful, mask up, and everybody have a blessed week. I'll see y'all next Friday. Peace.
How I keep from going under. It's like a jungle outside. Sometimes I wonder how I keep from going under. We scream Black Lives Matter, but we still toting ladders.